Hello and welcome to part 4 of my 4-part series, Cycles of the Womb. And today I'm going to be talking about the last quarter and the descent, or PMT, premenstrual syndrome. This is amazing time. And when I look at the astrology of now and what's happening and what I'm going to talk about, it's so in alignment and everything's amazingly divinely orchestrated, because today I'm going to be talking about the Priestess journey of descent. And the last quarter moon, which is Friday the 30th, will be in the sign of Virgo, which is the sign of the Priestess. So it's a real powerful time to be going on this descent. And also here in the UK, we've had this storm called Storm Diana, and to me Diana is like, she is like this goddess of descending and the priestess, and also she's connected to birthing and women and children and nature and all these things. She's also connected to the Greek goddess Artemis. So yeah, there's no coincidence that the storm that has been roaring the last few days is called Diana, and we are getting on our horse and going down the hill, going down the mountain. So what is this stage about? So the first 2 stages of the journey, it's kind of the first week we was a maiden, we was climbing up the hill, it was all fresh potential, new ideas and creativity. And then we got to the top of the mountain and we got to the mother, and we got to the place of love and connection and unity, and there's lots of parties and connecting, and it's really fun. And now this week is like the week after the party or the night after the party, you know, like when you're starting to come down again. And for me in my cycle, like I've noticed that this phase for me, like this phase of descent, seemed to be a lot longer than like other parts of my cycle, because I have a cycle logging sheet, or I write it in my moon diary, and I've been keeping track of how I notice when I shift from each phase. So I'd have about a week in the maiden, and then I'd go into the mother, have about a week in the mother, and then like quite a long time actually in this wild phase. And the reason why, and I would like have a really long cycle as well, so I would bleed probably about every 34-35 days, and so that would be like 2 weeks of me being in premenstrual phase and being in this like, I want to bleed, why am I not bleeding? And what I've found from connecting to my womb and talking to her and saying what's going on, she says, well, you need to be in this phase because this is the phase you need to integrate more, and we always get exactly what we need. So if she's holding you in one phase of your cycle for longer, that could be because you have more lessons to learn or deeper healing that needs to happen in this phase of your cycle. Some of us will have longer bleeding phases, some of us will bleed for up to 7 days, or some of us will be in our mother for a really long time and will be like really in that phase. So I think it's all different for all of us because we all have different things to learn from our cycle. I also feel like as a collective, a lot of the women that I work with and speak to have said that, you know, they have this really long PMT phase and they just feel like, I want myself to bleed, and it's like, oh, why is she not here, and all of these things. So I think it's becoming quite common for us to be in this phase for longer. So what's the answer? The answer is to embrace our wild. And also, so when we're descending, we're coming down, so we're not spending so much time with the others. You know, we're coming down off the mountain, and it's like it's a phase of, it's the journey home. So we're going back down into the cave. The cave is the blood, it's the end, it's the bones. So that's next week when we get to the new moon again. So this week now it's about reflecting about what happened when I was up there on the mountain. How has my journey been so far, this cycle? And what have I learned? Who did I meet, and what were the lessons and teachings that I received from that person or people? And yeah, this time can be super like coming in and starting to say goodbye to the contacts and people and the people around us, and just being in a more kind of internal state, which is kind of difficult for us in modern society because we're told that we must just keep going, you know, and it's like we must be at the top of this mountain all the time. This is our, you know, standards. We have to just keep going, and to actually slow down and to listen to the body and to integrate our teachings is, you know, seen as sickness or laziness, or like it's some kind of negative thing. But actually, I feel like this is why so many of us are really experiencing a lot of premenstrual syndrome. So it's the premenstrual syndrome is like our womb is reacting to the way that we are treating her at this stage. So I have found that if I'm experiencing premenstrual syndrome, or, you know, some kind of anger, anxiety, emotions, any of these things, it's like, this is kind of normal, you know, to have these things come up. I think the problem is when we keep pushing ourselves to be in places that we really don't want to be, you know, like working 12-hour shifts, or standing on our feet all day, or, you know, running around after everyone else. It's like when we know that deep down we're getting less and less energy each day as we descend. So technically we should be doing less and less each day, so that when we get down to the cave we can just go, oh, that's it, now I just lay here for 3 or 4 days, and wouldn't that be amazing if we could all just do that? So yeah, I mean, it's become a big part of my practice to go into my cave when I'm bleeding, and that's my priority, because I know that's for my own health, and it's through having this really dedicated practice of self-love and self-honouring and rest and reflection. Then when I come back out, I can come out so much more full of vitality and freshness, and I don't have to push or force. I'm just full. I'm kind of like, I've rested, I've integrated, I know exactly what all my lessons are and teachings. So when I come back out again, I'm just like so clued up and full of life and energy that everything makes more sense, you know? So yeah, I feel like this phase can be quite triggering for a lot of us, this premenstrual coming down, because society says that we can't come down. We have to stay up. I actually lost one of my most recent job. I was working in a shop, and I got fired because she said when I was bleeding I refused to stand up all day, and she said, sorry love, but you just got to get on with it. And I was like, I'm not going to stand on my feet all day, you know, I'm not a robot, and I'm a bleeding woman, so I will rest. And it's the best thing that ever happened to me losing that job, because it was not in alignment, or they didn't value that which I valued. So it was a massive blessing. I don't have any bad feelings about it, but it just shows the society that we're in, that as women we are expected to be robots, and we're expected to just keep going, you know, take a pill, shut up, kind of thing, stop moaning about it. But I think the reason that we moan about it is because physically we're more tired, like our body is releasing, so it's like our uterine lining is beginning to shed and descend down. So it's like all of the stuff from the top of the mountain that we don't need anymore, our body is magically clearing it for us. Amazing. And it's not just a physical thing, it's an emotional thing, it's a spiritual thing, it could be past life things, you know, there's a lot that we can intentionally release. And if we look at the cycle that we're in, And so now we could say, okay, so the next releasing is going to be around the new moon in Sagittarius. So we could look at the sign of Sagittarius and what we'll be releasing to do with that. You know, so Sagittarius is about the truth seeker and natural law, philosophy, like it's that fire energy of being out in the world and sharing our truth and our voice and spreading our wings and expanding out. So we could have lots of blocks to do with this. I know for me, like when I get big and I expand, there's a lot of fear that comes with that too. It's like, oh my god, I'm expanding, and a big part of me wants to contract and run away and be like, no. So this new moon coming up, it could have a lot to do with our fear of our truth and our fear of expansion, our fear of being big in the world, because Jupiter is in Sagittarius now, Jupiter being the planet of expansion, and Sagittarius Jupiter, that's its home. So it's like, it's all about expansion and abundance and, you know, things getting more. So there could be a lot of resistance from us for this. You know, we're actually having to step up and become all of this. But what happens when we have this opportunity to be more of ourselves, our true selves, you know? So this cycle, when we're releasing, we might be able to go in, like on this descent. Now this week we can really tune into, okay, well, what am I releasing around this whole genre? And now we're in the Priestess of Virgo. So Virgo is very much about the earth. She's about ritual, she's about ceremony. She's also the Virgin, so she could be about innocence. She's very particular, she likes things to be just so, you know, very perfect. So we could use this time to be very analytical about this, you know, and really dive into this and say, okay, well, what am I learning from Virgo now? Like, and what am I releasing this cycle? And I think if we're really tuning into this in this week, by the time we get down to our cave, we haven't got quite as much processing to do. And so then when we're in our cave, we don't have to be in this you know, energy of process. We're just like, by the time we get there, we can say, right, I know what I'm releasing. Poof, and then down she comes and releases it all back to the earth. So, and then we can just rest, you know, we don't have to be anywhere else, think about anything else, what happened up the mountain, because that's in the past now, you know. So it's like when you're in the cave, you're in the cave, and then you can commune with the divine, with your higher self, with your soul, with the goddess, and you can channel, you can see visions, you can do so many things, because you're clear and you haven't got to worry about what happened last week up the mountain. It's like, I know what I'm releasing la 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 la, okay, poof, and it's done. You know, it's so clear just to let all that go. Don't even give it any more energy, just say thank you for everything that you've taught me. And then we'll know when we come out of the cave that we're clear again and we're like, oh, so amazing. So yeah, and also this time can bring up quite a bit of anger, you know, like, because premenstrual women can get angry, right? It's like, we all had these moments. I think about a few months ago, I was like smashing stuff around the kitchen. I think the most important thing is just to move the energy, you know, not to hold it inside of us and suppress it and say, oh no, I can't be angry. You know, it's wrong to be angry. It's wrong to cry. Like, there's so much conditioning that we have. But I've found from myself is when that energy comes, it's like a volcano rising. And you can't tell a volcano not to explode, right? But we can, as conscious beings, go into a place of safety and security, and we can release as much as we need, you know. We can scream into our hands, we can throw pillows around, we can do whatever we need to do. We can shake, we can dance, we can scream, whatever we need to do. Release the energy, you know, send it back out, because Mother Nature will take care of it, you know. The winds will come, the storms will blow, and everything will change. That is guaranteed. I pulled a card yesterday and it was Kali Ma. So many of you will probably know Kali. She is like the energy of destruction. And then the next morning I woke up and there's all these winds and it's blowing and it's wild and it's rah, that feeling. So yeah, I really felt just to embrace that energy and trust her, trust the winds, the wildness, the rawness, trust that energy that's coming up and just allow it space to be seen and not judged. Allow it space to be free, that it's not buried in our body and creating pain and all the other things, you know, disease. Move it, set it free, you know, and don't judge it, just love it. So these are parts of me, you know, my anger is part of me, but I love my anger. I say, yes, it's okay, you can be angry, let's just do that. Let's express that and love that, you know, in a safe way where, you know, I'm not going to whack somebody else around the head or project my anger at someone else, you know. I think part of being a conscious bleeding womb is knowing how to express this energy and move this energy and not to hold it in ourselves and not to aim it at others like arrows, because that's not cool, is it? Yeah. So yeah, I really, I feel like this is quite a long video because I said to you I could really talk about this phase for quite some time. I think because in our society there is so much suppression to do with this, you know. We did a dance temple in August for Hathor, and part of that was to do with Sekhmet, the lion goddess. And so we was in this phase, we was releasing, we was screaming, and we was doing all these practices to help release this energy that's been trapped inside our bodies, or releasing it for, you know, the collective as well. And there was loads of noise complaints and telling us that we wasn't able to do this, you know. And it just shows that this face of the goddess is really, it's difficult for people to see and witness and be with. But so then we have this huge resistance of expressing that. And so, but I have found, like for me, I have a really beautiful home here and I can scream in my garden and it just goes out into the cosmos, you know, and I can release here and I feel safe to do that. But especially when we get together in a group and we're doing this work, it's so powerful, but it also comes with a lot of resistance as well from people releasing and from the people around. But I feel like it still needs to happen, you know. So but the more we are in our authenticity and our integrity and releasing in a conscious way, you know, like it's going to benefit us all in the long run, I feel. So yeah, scream as much as you need, my love. Yeah, it's so important that we share and not hold it in, because we've been holding stuff for so long. And this phase of the priestess is about learning how to be connected to the earth, mother of the earth, and also connected to the cosmos. So she's got one hand in each, you know, and she's like, she understands that she doesn't need to hold stuff in her body, she can move it and send it out. But she also understands that there's a higher order, that she is in a bigger plan. And so she's just really onto it. She's like this super like, I see it like, yeah, the priestess descending on a white horse down the mountain. And yeah, she's on her way home. And when you get home, there'll be cookies and beautiful yummy tea and and Grandma Crow with her white hair, and she'll make you a yummy hot chocolate or something, and you can relax. Yeah, I think that's all for now. I'm definitely going to do some more videos because I have a lot more to share. But yeah, please descend, come down, it's okay. This is part of the cycle. We go round and round and round. It's not all about ascending, you know. We are living in a round spiral of life. So part of that spiral means we go down sometimes, but then we go up, and then we go down, and then we go up. So really embracing this descent. Okay, enjoy your journey down the hill, my loves. Blessed be. I love you. Namaste, yoginis. La.